Rattrap Productions, we teach you how to do stuff. I have a 1971 Ford Country Squire. It's 50 years old. All the rubber on it is 50 years old. So what I'm going to do in a multi-part video series is I'm going to show you how to disassemble, recondition, replace parts that are necessary for the front suspension of your typical 70s passenger car. This is for Ford. This is also for Chevy. There's a lot of different manufacturers that use the same basic suspension. So we are going to replace everything. Upper control arms, lower control arms will be reconditioned, new bushings, new tie rod ends, new strut rod bushings, new everything. Imagine it. Sway bar bushings, the sway bar will be all reconditioned. Everything will look pretty when I'm done. Feel free to check out one of these videos. Feel free to check out the whole series. Feel free to check out whatever applies to you. Rattrap Productions, we show you how to do stuff. First, you'll need to do a Google search on all the parts you will need. Make sure you have them on hand so nothing slows you down. So we have the two upper and lower ball joints. We have the sway bar bushings, brand new rubber for those. Links for the sway bar, brand new rubber for those. This is for the two strut rods that Ford had. Two upper control arms each. Bushings for those, the lower control arm bushings, and then all of our tie rod necessities, the long pieces, the short pieces, and the connections in between. So for this strut, that cotter pin was hard to get out because you can see the hole isn't very big. So, but then you just remove the castle nut like I did, and then on these Fords, there's two bolts that hold the bumper onto the lower control arm. And also seat the strut bar to the lower control arm. So there's one here and there's one on the very other side. So to remove the stabilizer bar, I'm going to work from the bottom up. So I got this loosened up and I thought I could sneak it out here. I can't, so I'm going to drop these so I can get a little bit of play in the sway bar to get that end link out. Just like that. So now I'm going to remove the shock. First thing I'm going to do is remove the upper bolt. Okay, the shock is out. Now I'm going to remove the rotor, splash shield, all of that stuff. Just refer to the video that's flashing up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen right now. So now we're going to disconnect the steering. So I remove the cotter pin. All right, got that done. We're going to remove the spindle. So we have a jack down here supporting the lower control arm. All right. Now, according to the Ford manual, we do not need to put a spring compressor in here. But hypothetically, once this is done, all you should have to do is lower the jack and the spring will just come right out nice and safe. Springs are deadly. There's lots of energy in them. And when compressed, they can shoot out at a very high velocity, especially towards your face, and damage or kill. So we need to be careful. But basically what we're going to do is remove the cotter pins from these two. Then we're going to loosen these bolts like 1 or 2 turns. Not the whole way, because if it gives, it's going to give violently. Then we don't want that. So we're just going to loosen it 1 or 2 turns, and then one of two things is going to happen. Either I'm going to be able to just tappy tap on this spindle here and here, and these ball joints are going to come loose, and then I can put pressure on this jack, and I can safely loosen these, then remove the spindle, then lower the jack, then take the spring out. Or what's probably going to happen is nothing when I tap on these, tappy tap, and then I will have to get a ball joint remover tool. So what I ended up doing is I took the castellated nut off of here and I reversed it, as you can see, and then I took a little 2.5 pound sledge and I slammed on top of it until it released. I made sure that the floor jack was just a little bit ahead or a little bit underneath where this control arm was, and then once it popped, boom, the lower control arm, the spring forced the lower control arm onto the jack. So now what I'm going to do is remove the nut. I'm going to swing the lower control arm away. So I'm going to remove this, I'm going to swing this away, and then I'm going to pound on this to do the same exact thing. Because it's a tapered fit. Lower ball joint is off, just like that. So I caught as much of the spring as I could. I made sure that's tight so the spring doesn't just give. I took another bottle jack, so I let all the pressure off of this bottle jack. I'm going to remove that, let the pressure off of this. Spring is unsprung. Take the spring out. I'm going to switch this castellated nut. I'm going to put it on the other side. I'm going to pound, and we're going to release that one. Now that one's done. Now I can remove the castellated nut very gently. Take off my spindle. All right, so now I'm going to remove the lower control arm. 3/4 inch on both sides. Persuade it. Pull it out, remove the arm. We got to remove this guy. This is the upper control arm. When you look up here, boom. So we're going to remove these 2 bolts. When you're taking this upper control arm off, you got to be a little bit careful because they put these in, these little tabs, underneath right here. There's a picture of it. If you can look inside there, one of those tabs that's installed. So when I loosen this up, that's going to come loose. Get ready because that's going to drop. And you don't want to lose it. So, okay, so the last thing that I have out of this whole project is the steering connecting rod. This was attached to the spindle, remember? Way back when? So now I'm under the car. I just have to finish removing this. There. There we go. Whew.